Today we're having a neighborhood open house for our new trails through the woods of Woodland Park. We're having the Happy Trails and Hot Dog event, encouraging neighbors to come out and explore our trails and see what Woodland Park is like. The Friends of Woodland Park started about 7 years ago, and our thoughts were, we'll resurface the tennis court, we'll get more kids on the playground, we'll work on the community center. And interestingly enough, none of us looked at the woods. The woods were overgrown, they were forbidding, they were scary, they were impenetrable. And so one winter we bushwhacked through the woods and made our way down to Little White Oak Bayou and realized this is the heart and soul of the park. The path before us was to make paths through the park, clean up the bayou, and invite the neighborhood to explore this little woods which sits in the shadow of downtown Houston. Woodland Park started as Highland Park. It was built just after the turn of the last century as a destination park for the Houston Electric Company. They had a trolley line that went down Houston Avenue, and it was an electric trolley, and they were trying to encourage ridership. So they purchased this land and had a fabulous park. There were hot air balloons. They dammed up the bayou and made a lake. There were ladies in white parasols, men in boats, chutes and ladders to swim in the beautiful clear water of the lake. Pavilion, dancing, food. It was just a big time. The electric company must have decided they weren't in the business of parks, and after about 10 or so years, they gave the park to the city of Houston, and it was renamed Woodland Park, and it was a very solid part of the community for many years, till a few decades ago. And then the woods just started to overgrow, and the park became somewhat forgotten. Kenny Rogers got a start playing in our Woodland Heights Civic Center. So we are just trying to get it back into people's awareness of a lovely piece of woods and a lovely piece of the community. In our spring date, when we were having a neighborhood cleanup, which usually involves about 10 hardy souls cleaning tires out of the bayou, one of our teammates said, I'm going to call Bridgestone, I'm going to call Firestone, I'm going to call Dunlop. And she contacted all the tire companies of the tires that we were pulling out of the bayou. And sure enough, Bridgestone Americas, which is Bridgestone Firestone, said yes, we do not want tires in rivers and streams to be the face of our company. So last October, they sponsored a huge cleanup. It was a tremendous effort. We got 484 tires out of the bayou and a giant dumpster of trash coming out of the bayou. And they really moved us forward. They have been wonderful partners for us. We were really lucky to have several of the landscape architects from SWA, from the SWA group, help us with our master plan. So this is the direction we're heading. This is not completely up to date because at the time we drew this, we had never really explored the woods. The woods were that dense, we couldn't really get down into them. The general idea is to have a big, great lawn right in this area where we would have the lawn slightly graded downhill. Our eyes would be drawn to downtown, which we can see when the leaves are off the trees. And just a really inviting sort of lawn bringing us down towards the bayou. An amphitheater built into the hill below the community center, so there can be outdoor education for kids. We can put cultural events on at night, and the amphitheater will be set into the natural slope of the hill. There's a beautiful meadow a natural meadow in the southern part of the park, which just begs for a beautiful piece of sculpture. People can wander by the meadow and maybe be surprised by a fabulous piece of art. Along Houston Avenue, there's a natural broad space between the sidewalk and the edge of the woods, which we would like to formalize a little bit so that we could have maybe an art fair, something like that, where people can set up their booths along Houston Avenue. Ultimately, we would like to expand the Civic Center, bring it up to the 21st century, and make it a little bit bigger so that we can have community events within the Civic Center.